Sure, there had been kings of fighters before, like, say, in the subtitle to the original Fatal Fury, but it wasn't until 3 years later in, well, you guessed the year, when SNK decided to throw their franchises in a blender and frappe until they had a tall, refreshing fighting game smoothie. It's an idea that's been rather played to death in the modern era, but back then it was something. Thus, the King of Fighters 94, the first installment in one of the pillar series of 2D fighters. The invitations have been sent, the teams have been assembled, but Kula's not on them because she won't be introduced for another 6 years, and that makes me sad. Apparently, when drug kingpin and arms trafficker Rugal Bernstein gets bored, he summons the best fighters from around the world, or SNK's catalog, to battle for his amusement. Because that can't go poorly, can it? Having the strongest, fastest, fiercest, and yes, bounciest combatants, exactly the kind of people who might just have a really strong, heroic sense of justice, and who would think of nothing of pummeling a drug kingpin and arms trafficker. Or alternately, they beat the hell out of each other, because that's fun too. Bucking the one-on-one trend of fighting games up to this point, though, KOF 94 introduced 3 fighter teams representing various nations around the world that really didn't make all that much sense. The classic Fatal Fury cast is the Italian team? What, do they go clean up Southtown and then go out for gelato? That's all tangential plot and doesn't really have to do much with violence. Good classic quarter-circle-y 2D fighting from the guys who tried to do Street Fighter better than Street Fighter and succeeded in some respects. You've got 4 attack buttons, your standard back is block configuration, and a dodge command that lets you take a step into the background to let that fireball pass by. KOF 94 also folded in concepts like a power meter for unleashing stronger lethal attacks, taunts that deplete the opponent's power, thereby giving them a tactical use as opposed to just being a jerk, and defensive attacks by your allies on the sideline. Let's be fair, there were a lot of games trying to ride on the success of the Street Fighter II concept, but SNK were usually the ones taking those ideas 3 steps further, culminating in the, again, I go back to the image of the refreshing fighting game smoothie. Fortunately, this landmark step in the history of fighting gaming has been remade and emulated a number of times, from direct virtual console ports on the Wii and PS3 to inclusions and compilations like the SNK Arcade Classics Collection and the King of Fighters The Orochi Saga Bundle. A remastered version called the King of Fighters 94 Rebout, yes, Rebout, hit the PS2 in Japan and was planned for a US release on the original Xbox, but disappeared in the middle of the night like a fart in the wind. That's unfortunate because KOF 94 really feels like one of those fighting games that you can actually go back to and that still holds up. More than I can say about Clay Fighter 2 Judgment Clay, let me tell you.